Good morning. How are you? Well, they're talking about thunder showers and everything else. Now it's merely a steam bath. But it's nice. It's always nice to be out walking. And I guess we're like sharks. We have to move, move or die. So, what do we have going on? Well, you may remember the White House counsel McGahn was given free rein to go up to the special counsel Mueller's group and talk about any efforts by Trump to interfere with the investigation of himself. And apparently he was pretty candid. And among the things he described were various obstructions of the investigation, up to and including how to fire the Attorney General. So this was the subject of subpoenas by Congress and took 2 years finally to get an agreement that McGahn would appear on the Hill. And now he's done that behind closed doors. So what's the significance of all of that? The significance is that he spoke about obstruction of justice by the president in the period about May 2017. Now, the statute of limitations for obstruction is 5 years, which means Trump and company are exposed to possible prosecution through May of about 2022. So we could still prosecute Mr. Trump and the cronies that were involved in his obstructions, not just the McGahn one. And guys like me and gals who were former prosecutors have been saying for the longest time that give us a grand jury and we can prosecute these obstruction cases. And there have been agreements and disagreements about which ones would be the best and easiest to win. But there's no question that there's probably at least 5. So, why aren't we acting upon it? I don't know. Now, when I think about myself as a young prosecutor, it's not that I just wanted to prosecute anyone, but when we saw wrongdoing by a significant player that had tremendous adverse effect in a community, we were very interested as young prosecutors, that was my experience in the Southern District, to go after those people. And I mean go after those people with subpoenas and grand jury, witnesses, conversations. And sometimes people had very good explanations for what they did. But Trump is not one of those people. And while we can criticize Mueller for stopping his investigation at the water's edge in terms of what Trump and family and the finances had to do with any interference in the election by the Russians, there isn't any question that the second part of the report spells out in great detail what Trump did to obstruct the investigation. That's it. That's the reckoning. That's what we should be. But we seem to have a somnolent Justice Department, including the new one, to do anything about it. And it is beyond me to understand how that could happen unless somebody was suppressing it. And so all roads lead to Garland, and maybe he is not the junkyard dog we need as Attorney General. And appeasement doesn't work. In fact, I put up a cartoon the other day about appeasement, but that had more to do with our legislative paralysis. So what should we be doing? We should be demanding that the investigation that was already done be updated and the obstruction charges, because the man is no longer president, be filed. And you may remember that when Mueller did testify before the Judiciary Committee and he was asked about this, he said, yeah, sure, you could prosecute Trump after he leaves office. So there we are. That's number one. There are other things going on that are good. I like the fact that the XL pipeline is now a dead letter, in part because Biden withdrew the permit to come across our land and to lay this pipeline through to, I think it's Nebraska. And this is kind of the most odious fossil fuel you should have. And our public policy should be, as a rule, keep the fossil fuels underground, because when we release them, that's when we have all our problems. Talking about, transmissions and so forth. So this is a very important thing. Also, in terms of the environment, Biden has done something very special, which is to reinstate our protection of streams and accumulations of waters so that we're not polluting the waters that we need for agriculture, for drinking, also for amusement and recreation. You can't swim in a polluted stream. And there were laws in the past that if you had a small pond which was catching pollution and it's not insulated in any way and it's near a larger body of water, then the seepage through the ground could compromise that lake, pond, river, and so forth. Now, I don't know how it is where you are, but it's probably pretty similar. That is, if you're in a city, you're getting the water from reservoirs. Those waters are collected from springs and runoff and aquifers. There are large segments of American society in which people depend on well and septic. Hopefully they don't put the septic uphill from the well. And we are in a crisis about the supply and purity of good water. And there's an old principle about what we should do about the environment, which is that we should leave the environment as we found it. We're not doing that. That is to say that we can derive the benefits of the environment, but we shouldn't compromise it for the next generation. The principle is called usufruct, and Jefferson was frequently invoking that. And a good friend of mine, Jim Wine, years ago, spent a lot of time telling me how important he thought it was, and I agree with him. It is. And it's a principle that we should embrace. But we don't embrace the law these days. We don't embrace safety. It used to be called, I guess, the credit card economy. You know, you spend something that you can't afford to do. Well, we're wasting environmental treasures that we can't afford to waste or to lose. In terms of electoral politics, it doesn't surprise me that McAuliffe won. I've been with him a number of times. I've supported him. I contributed to him. But he's like, in a good way, the enthusiasm of a kid to do this job. And we often talk about supporting candidates because they have fire in the belly. Well, McAuliffe is on a few years, and he's a vibrant, vital guy, full of energy. And he has the funds to mount a fight against a very wealthy, far-right opponent. So I think this is very good for Virginia. And Mark Herring is an established entity who has been in office and fought the fight. And I mean fought the fight, gone into court and fought it. So we have a very good ticket, and I don't think the Republicans have anything like that. And I'm hoping that that ticket will enhance the strength of the Democratic Party in Virginia so they can do even more good things than they've done already. So that's pretty much what's on my mind today. I know the president is going to the United Kingdom, and it'll be interesting to see how he and Johnson get along, because I don't think Biden had much use for him, and I can agree with that. I'm sure he will not be the clown. He'll be a dignified presence. And he does know the world leaders, unlike some recent inhabitants of the West Wing. So I think we'll be well served that he can deal with the subtlety that's necessary when dealing in a diplomatic setting. I don't know if anything has been agreed to before going to G7 that will be unveiled as the product of that meeting. But that would be terrific, because we need to send signals that we're on top of this and good things are happening. So as I continue to walk in my steam bath today, I hope all is well with you and yours, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.